Welcome to the latest episode of the Cover 3 podcast. I am Aaron from 49ers First Takes. I am joined by Sterling Bennett of 49ers Access and special guest kind of holding it down today for Dre. He was supposed to be our fourth. It was supposed to be number 4 on the four-man panel, but unfortunately, Dre could not make it today for personal reasons. We're going to hold it down for him. Mike going to hold it down for us in place, and we're going to talk about some 49ers off-season free agency, coaching moves, all that kind of stuff in the next hour or so. So before we really get into anything concrete, guys, free agency's here, or it's getting close next Wednesday. But like things are starting to percolate, things are starting to move. People getting signed, people are getting released. A lot of talk, a lot of chatter. How are you guys feeling about it? With about, I don't know, 5 days ago. Sterling?
Feeling good. San Francisco has some money to spend. We'll see if they actually do spend it to this offseason, unlike last year. But I'm excited. You know, every offseason brings somewhat of a reborn optimism for every franchise in the NFL. And I think for San Francisco, they're in a good spot. They got some work to do, but you won 12 games last season, won a playoff game last year. Let's see if you can get closer to hoisting a Lombardi trophy. And that starts with the coaching changes you made, and now it leads into free agency. So the next 5 days, we'll see what San Francisco can do and hopefully make us happy this offseason, which is really hard to do amongst the fan base we currently have.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree, Sterling. This is the time of year where emotions go up and down drastically because you hear rumors. Oh, Niners could be getting this guy. You could be getting this guy. We're going to release this guy. All that kind of stuff. And it keeps the whirlwind going. And, it's like a kid going shopping. You get some new toys, hopefully at the end of the year. And, they're good pieces and they fit right. And it's what we need and what we want. But this is always, honestly, this is my favorite time of the year because the excitement and the unknown and all the little leaks and stuff that you find on the internet and you see what's going on and you're like, oh, what does this mean? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. One of the big pieces of news that came out this week was, or this past week, as we're going into the weekend, was the contract standoff between Trent Williams and the 49ers. No real progress has been made. Big surprise. What is this, like the third off season? He's had some sort of contractual issue. I think what's different this year is, well, it was kind of this case last year. He's old. He's getting old. He's pretty old. He's 38. And so like the Niners are kind of in a situation where it's like, okay, they don't really have an option B in this situation. So to be kind of held over a barrel, so to speak. But at the same time, like they have to have some sort of financial structure to this thing. And that's what they're trying to make you believe that that's what they're trying to do, especially these last couple of years. So like, when does it become a point where they're like, you know what, we're just not on the same page? Trent, go find yourself something, or we'll trade you and we'll figure out a plan B. Maybe as free agency starts, maybe we have an alternative move that we got to make. What do you guys think about the Trent situation, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're right. They don't have a plan B, and the Niners put themselves in this position by neglecting the offensive line, specifically tackle, the successor for Trent. So it's kind of hard because, yeah, we're in this boat where Trent is aging. He seems to be breaking down at the end of the seasons. Recently, he always has his kind of like his worst games at the very end. Like he didn't have a good game in the Super Bowl. He didn't have a good game, against Seattle. And it's just like, what do you do here? Like, yeah, do you just cut it and say, all right, we're going to move on? But then what do you move on to? And what's your plan? Are you going to go out in free agency and find somebody to replace him who's younger, who's not as good? You might be cheaper. But then on the other hand, if you re-sign him, now you're pigeonholing yourself into sticking with him and paying an aging left tackle who's declining in play. So I don't know what's going on. I heard rumors that Detroit was poking around at him after they released Tyler Decker and they couldn't come to a contract agreement. So I don't know how truthful that is. Maybe they're just finding out the price. I don't know what the Niners are planning to do, but I'm very curious to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty cut and dry situation. Trent has San Francisco by the gonads, and he's like, give me all you got. And while that sounds bad in theory because Trent has all the leverage, the Niners also have a luxury of paying a future Hall of Fame left tackle who played, 16 games, 15 games for you last year. And by all intents and purposes was one of the best left tackles in football, albeit maybe had some bad games late in the season, but he didn't show that he couldn't be a quality or a good or elite left tackle at times last year. So, it's a good problem to have when you're paying good players. I know the age is a big problem for a lot of people, and I get it. He'll be 38 or he's already 38 years old. And, you have to ask the question, okay, can you last into your age 38 season, your age 39 season? Maybe if Trent is to be believed, his age 40 season, I don't know. And I think at some point, San Francisco will have to find the next left tackle. But just like Joe Staley, he retired that same offseason. They went and got Trent Williams. And those guys don't fall into your lap often. So you don't want to let those guys go very often. And I think San Francisco doesn't view left tackle or finding the next left tackle a problem until Trent says, okay, I'm going. And I don't think it'll happen this offseason. I think he'll be here, San Francisco 49er for the rest of his career. He'll get paid a ton of money, rightfully so. And, I don't know. It just seems like that this is something Niner fans need to have done. The Niners, Trent should want to have done before the draft, but also they should want it done before training camp. The last thing you can do is have Trent hold out. It was a problem 2 years ago. You saw what happened. So there really isn't a strict timeline, but I think it gets done. And for their sake, God, I hope it's pre-draft and pre-training camp, if anything else.
You think they learned their lesson, Sterling, and get it done before?
They never do.
My God, this team.
The only thing I can say is that after they got burned by Brandon Ayuk in that negotiation, they did really peel kind of the wall back or the curtain back of like, look, we're cutting ties with guys. We're going to have some hard conversations, and we're going to be a little more fickle with who we give contracts to. And Trent's the guy you want to give money to.
Yeah.
I just don't know, like those negotiation tactics they have of penny pinching works when a guy is 27 wanting to get paid for the first time, not when a guy's 38 going on his third or fourth big time contract. So we'll see what they can do, but I think they do get something done.
Oh man, I mean, can you see a place where they say too much is too much and they trade them and then they go find themselves somebody? I know a tackle just came free. His name is escaping me. He just got released.
Tyler Decker just got released.
Yeah, by the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could you see? I'm just pontificating here. I'm not
sure. The only scenario I can see San Francisco even thinking of getting rid of Trent Williams is if they got a first-round draft pick inside the top 10. Because he's that valuable to how good they are and guarding Brock Purdy in the running game. You saw when Austin Pleasance was out there playing left tackle against Seattle, albeit it was against one of the best defenses in football. It wasn't very pretty. So I don't know. It just seems like that there really is nowhere to go. This is a straightforward one-lane road of pay Trent. You can't go left. You can't go right. You have to pay Trent. Maybe there's a world where he's like, I went out of San Francisco. I went out of California because the tax is so high, and I want to go to Texas. I want to go somewhere else. I don't know. But in that case, you have to get a pick at 11 or inside the top 10 because you have to make sure you can guarantee yourself getting the top tackle prospect, which probably not going to get even if you are around pick 11 or 12. So again, one lane road, pay Trent.
Yeah, Trent has all the leverage for sure.
Joseph Vernberg made a good point, though. If we're being honest with ourselves, I know people are going to be like, "Oh, you're negative. Everybody's so negative." He says, "I don't know, man. They aren't winning the Super Bowl with Trent. Why kick the can even further down the road?
Is that winning the Super Bowl with Trent this year? Because what about next year, 2028? Like Trent's not going to do a 1-year deal. He's almost telling you,
Yeah.
I want a guaranteed money because I want to be
I want to
here
retire
for at
here.
least 2 more seasons. Yeah, like he's kind of cementing himself, being like, okay, I'm locked in. Can you give me the money to allow me to lock myself in with you? So maybe for 1 year, I get the complaint of like, trade him now while you can. But the last 38-year-old player, I believe, to get traded was Brett Favre in 2009 when he unretired. He went for a 4th-round conditional pick that could become a 3, a 2, and a 1. San Francisco isn't trading Trent for a conditional 4th-round draft pick. No way.
We got a lot of people in here that don't like Kyle Shanahan. Or
Shocking.
maybe just Mr. BMW Lotus says, Shanny's a choke master. History is screaming at us. Shanny can't do it. At least you're solid in your beliefs. I mean, hey, man, if I had to list the things that I'm worried about right now and with the offseason, in full effect, Shanny's probably like down the list a little bit. I have more issues and more gripe with John Lynch, and then what I think is a window, not a window. What's the word I'm looking for? I feel like John Lynch should be on borrowed time.
Yeah, like Kyle's not my worry. I mean, we talked about this, Aaron, right, when Trent was on that podcast recently, and he was speaking glowingly of Kyle and how amazed he still is by him, even in his how many seasons he's been playing. And he says that he feels bad for other players in the NFL because they don't get to experience the magic and the genius of Kyle Shanahan and all the stuff that he does as a head coach. And I mean, let's be honest, if Kyle Shanahan was fired today, he would be the highest paid coach in the NFL in about 27 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kyle, I know this is not going to really sit well with some people, but like what he did last year with, guys that are delivering pizzas one week and then they're on an NFL field playing defense for the 49ers because they're decimated across the board on defense. They were decimated everywhere, but defense was just...
They had 2 wide receivers that didn't even know the playbook in the playoffs, and they still won.
Yeah,
there's that too. So Kyle was able to pull, as the saying, he was able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, right?
Yeah.
John, on the other hand, I feel like he's the GM, he's the face, he's the representation of this fan base or of this organization. Like he's the guy that's front and center. I feel like we got real fat off of some good early drafts where we hit on a lot of big names. And now those guys are coming towards the end of their prime or they're definitely in the last stages of it. And we're still trying to squeeze that lemon dry. And we haven't replenished the cabinet full of like, oh, here's our next star coming up. And John is the forefront of that. And I could see a situation where, Kyle ain't going anywhere, but I mean, could there be a situation looming where, if they really struggle and miss on this draft and they have a poor season next year and guys don't contribute from last year or this year, that we finally see John Lynch like, hey, we got to get a real GM in here. This is getting ridiculous. There's only so much.
Quasi, bro. They got Quasi. He's going to replace John, right?
Quasi drafts, ironically. I just think it's
Quasi's so bad.
It's crazy to me that like we've been living off these guys that we drafted early on, and like it's getting to the point now where it's like they have to bring back guys that they drafted, or if they're thinking about bringing back guys that they drafted, like you only bring a Deebo Samuel back when you're grasping at straws because you've missed on so many picks and you're like, oh, I guess we got to bring him back into the fold. He knows the playbook, instead of being like, oh, we got this receiver named Ricky Pearsall who really shined in year 2 and he's looking promising going into year 3, and you don't know about that. Ayuk's out the door, and you're just the wide receiver room is an absolute mess. You got an aging tight end who's, I love George Kittle.
You have a successor in Farrell. Come on, that's already locked up.
Jesus.
10 million.
I just think like
guaranteed. What?
I just think this is a really important offseason. And I think this is a really important draft.
I don't know if this is the draft where I'm like make or break, because you could make the case, and I don't know if I'm there just yet, but you could make the case that if like this is a big year for Pearsall and Green and that draft class, if those guys don't hit, that's year 3 of those guys. And if none of those guys find consistency or health, that's a problem. And that is a then wasted draft. Most draft classes don't find or kind of click, or you can make an actual evaluation of them until year 3. Okay, well, you're in year 3 of Pearsall and Green. If they don't click after this year, what's going on? Like 2024 was the first draft you had your first round draft pick back after you traded away picks for Trey Lance. And it's like, if 2024 is bad, it doesn't show some improvement. And then 2025, although did show some things more than 2024 did, in my opinion, already. There is a real case to be made that John Lynch could be on the outs. Maybe not after this year, but if this two draft classes ago isn't good or doesn't come to fruition, and then last year's draft class takes a step back, there's a clear path to getting him out of there. There really is. Now, will it happen? I don't think so, because his team is so well coached on both sides of the football that can make up for a bad draft class at times. But, John to me isn't tied to San Francisco like Kyle is. If John gets a TV job and Kyle's like, I want you out of here, he'll leave.
Yeah.
One of the points I want to make on this one really is you say that look at the Bills, they got balls, right? Was they fired? Their coach hasn't gotten them to 2 Super Bowls and multiple NFC Championship games.
McDermott also sucks.
And McDermott the failure against the Chiefs year in and year out, and especially last year with the Cup, like they had the easiest path to the Super Bowl, and yet their quarterback and their team played awful in the playoffs.
And the Bills having balls is keeping the GM that didn't want Keon Coleman and then made him look like an idiot in a press conference saying, I didn't want him. That was McDermott. And it's like, okay, the guy's still on your roster. And then a month later, trading away a 2nd round draft pick and more for DJ Moore and paying that entire contract.
Yeah.
Like the Bills don't have balls. They're idiots. They should have fired McDermott and Bean if they had some real balls.
I
just think that like if you're gonna replace a guy like Kyle Shanahan, if this is what we're trying to get at, and that I'm a moron because
that's not even fathomable. It's
like,
not
like
happening.
Who's coming through the door to replace Kyle Shanahan right
Nobody.
now?
No.
What college coach that like give me one name that you can tell me that that the Niners would have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl and having more success if they brought in him right now. I would love to see one name, just one. And it's not anybody that's employed by another team. I'm talking about like within the assistant coaching rankings or who?
There's nobody currently staffed.
Yeah, nobody. It's not going to happen. It's like, look, I think last year they did that poll, right?
Where they be the head coach. Okay.
Where they polled like all the defensive coordinators in the league, right? And they said, who's your number one offensive play caller who keeps you up at night? And I think everyone voted for like Kyle Shanahan. Like it's not happening. Kyle is one of the best coaches in the league. The players love him. Other coaches love him. His coaching tree is pretty remarkable so far. And everyone wants a Kyle Shanahan type offense to run their team. And to say here to fire Kyle, yes, it's frustrating. Some of the stuff he does makes you question the universe sometimes. But when it's all said and done, Kyle is still one of the best coaches in the NFL. And letting him go would just be a disastrous thing to do.
Yeah.
Forgot what I was going to get at. Yeah, I just don't see a situation right now that would make more sense than Kyle. And like, think about this too. I know we're kind of taking a long time on this, but how many quarterbacks are better for playing under Kyle that were once considered cast-offs that have come into this organization that have left with more value? That's all I got to say about that. The fact that even though he didn't leave as a starter, I mean, Oh my God. CJ Beathard got employed again once he left us for a while, at least, right? He didn't be a start. He wasn't ever a starter. And then you have Darnold, who's a Super Bowl champion that played under the 49ers tree, the Kyle Shanahan tree. And then you have Mac Jones, who, they say he doesn't have a ton of value right now, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that his conversation out there because of what he did with Kyle and with this team last season, that we're even in the conversation that somebody would be willing or stupid enough to give us a first round pick or a second round pick like the Jets. I mean, that says a lot about Kyle Shanahan because, there's a lot of things that Kyle struggles with: game management, time management, a lot of stuff.
Overtime rules.
He falls in love with old players and never kind of like he's afraid to kind of like, go with the young guy who might make a couple mistakes, but the potential of this guy being like really talented and having some serious like speed or whatever, he's afraid of that. He goes with the guys that he's always comfortable with. That's totally true. But he's gotten two quarterbacks that are also Rans who were highly drafted that accomplished nothing. One got a Super Bowl, got him paid twice, especially in Seattle, and now Mac Jones. A lot of people view him as a starter again because of Kyle Shanahan. So if we're going to make these accusations about Kyle, at least come with more than just, oh, he chokes in games. Like what else? Like what else you got? So speaking of quarterbacks, I know you wanted to touch on this, Sterling. There's quite a bit of quarterbacks that are free agents or at least going to be available right now. Mac Jones being at the top of that list. Let's see. I got some names here. Let me bring up the notes.
Well, the reason why I wanted to talk about this because there seems to be a disconnect in what Niners fans think they can get for Mac Jones, what the Niners believe Mac Jones is worth, and what he's actually worth on the current quarterback market. And I think the Niners have the right to play hardball and have a high asking price. I just don't think that what their asking price is, which you start high, fine, I understand that, work yourself down. But I don't think what they're asking for is exactly his value. And I think they might be in dangerous territory and shooting themselves in the foot and not being able to trade him if the asking price doesn't lower in the upcoming weeks and months. But I want to go through every team. From the Cardinals, the Jets, the Raiders are going to get Mendoza, so maybe not them, but the Cardinals, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Vikings. Like, let's go through all these teams and let's put quarterbacks in the right places because I think it actually will show us just how small Mac Jones's market actually is. And I think that to me is the important part of you don't have the leverage in this case. You have to trade the guy, fine, but I don't think the market is as robust as Niner fans believe it is this offseason.
Yeah, look at some of the names. We got Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Garoppolo, Pickett, Trubisky, Keenum, Lance, Huntley, and Minshew. What are you bringing him in for? I could see a situation where he's a bridge quarterback if you don't like this year's draft. And
it has to be. Because that's your deal.
Like if I'm Miami Dolphins, I know a lot of people are connecting them with Malik Willis. Was his name Malik Willis?
Yeah.
My brother is actually in favor of that move. He's a Dolphins fan. I told him, I was like, what about I said, what about Mac Jones? And he's like, I don't know.
But the Dolphins are also trying to cut and trade Tua Tagovailoa, who has like an $80 million dead cap hit.
Yeah.
So like, do you want to then give or acquire Mac Jones and trade draft picks that they're rebuilding? They're tearing things down. Tyreek Hill's gone. Chubb is gone. Like they're talking about trading Jalen Waddle. James Daniels is gone. Tua will be gone. Like they're tearing it all down.
Yeah.
And that to me doesn't scream like a team that's like, yeah, give us Mac Jones for a year. Let's be somewhat competitive. No, let's be bad for a year. Let's tear it all down and let's, we'll figure things out. Like, I don't know. Like, so again, let's go through each team. Let's start with the Cardinals. It's in San Francisco's division, the NFC West, thus immediately making him not or them not a contender for Mac Jones.
Exactly.
Okay. So who do we think comes to Arizona? The rumor now is they want Malik Willis.
Malik Willis.
LaFleur is in Arizona. His brother coached him in Green Bay. And if they can't get him, they're going to go for Brissett and maybe Garoppolo. They're not going to draft a quarterback. They want to kind of have that quasi-veteran in the backfield that you can just be a placeholder for a year because his quarterback class is so bad. It feels like Malik Willis is going to Arizona. So if that's the case, that's one team off the market. Let's go to the Raiders. It feels like it's a guarantee Mendoza is the first overall pick.
Yep.
They just cut Geno Smith, putting another quarterback on the open market. Mendoza is the Raiders quarterback. They're out of contention. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy. Rodgers seems like he'll be back this next year. And even if he's not, they're not going to go trade a second and more for Mac Jones. McCarthy's there. He wants to kind of create his own culture and see how things go. That seems like let's get Aaron Rodgers for a year. And they seemingly like Will Howard behind the scenes. I don't know if that's true or not, but that doesn't feel like a Mac Jones place to me. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with you on all of that. Honestly, but the thing is with me is I'm actually happy. I want Mac Jones to stay. So I was happy that there wasn't really a market for him. Initially, I'm like, well, if they're gonna get rid of him, I want a proven asset. I want a player in return. The asking price is going to be way too high. I'm good with it. If someone was willing to do it, fine. But I think we need Mac Jones here because he's going to end up playing some games, and he could be the difference of making it into the playoffs by, the skin of our nose because he can pull off a couple wins here and there. But yeah, I agree. I don't think the market is as hot as it was once when we were first talking about it, when the season was still on. And but I'm good with it. Mac can stay. I'm happy.
I think I feel more comfortable with him staying as the backup quarterback. And like you said, the market is what it is. And then if you're the Niners and you really like Mac Jones, would you do him a solid? They would do him a solid. They wouldn't trade that poor guy to the Jets. They wouldn't do that to him. There's no way, would they? Like did that hits? You think it would be a second career suicide. Like him going there, whatever value and worth that he's built with the 49ers, he's going to go to New York. He's going to play under that awful coach, that awful organization, awful owner, and then he's going to be an afterthought, and it's going to suck. I'd rather him stay here another year and then maybe get another job after next season, and maybe there's more of a pick of the litter, so to speak. So I'm good with them staying, and they were never going to get a high pick for him anyways. Like, are you kidding me? Like, nobody's that desperate for Mac Jones. Well, I love Mac Jones. And by the way, hey Lotus, we're a 49er channel here, so we're not kissing their ass. I'm actually very critical of the Niners, pretty much 95%. Sterling can attest to that, and so can Mike. So I don't get what your problem is. Like, all I said was, if you're going to get rid of Kyle, give me another option. That's all I'm asking. Who's the guy you're bringing in? Give me a name. I want a name. That's it. Give me a name. Anyways.
Aaron, you kind of took off another contender of the Mac Jones situation or the sweepstakes in the Jets. Now, I, for one, don't really care about what Mac Jones' feelings are. If a team's going to overpay, who cares? Like, you're on my team. I hold your contract. If I want to get rid of you, I can do whatever I want with you. Like, if anybody, the Jets, the worst team in football, doesn't matter, wanted to give San Francisco a 7th round draft pick for Mac Jones or for Brandon Ayuk, they'd take it right now. Now, situations are different. They want Mac Jones in the building. They don't want Ayuk in the building. And even if they did, he wouldn't show up. But with the Jets kind of off the table, that only leaves you 2 teams, Miami and Minnesota. And according to all the rumors and reports out there, the Vikings want Kyler Murray. So there's a real serious, future where the Niners don't have a single contender for Mac Jones. Like, not
Yeah.
a single team that wants Mac Jones, even if they want to trade him. And with Geno Smith out there, who I know wasn't great last year, but he won 10 games 2 years ago. Like, you can't forget that. He was terrible behind the worst offensive line in football with offensive weapons that weren't available. Myers gets traded. Bowers was hurt for a lot of the season. He's on the market now. If Tua's out there, some team will say Tua is a mid quarterback that can be a bridge for a year. Fine. Why would I then trade assets for Mac Jones if those assets are a second round draft pick and more? I can
Or a
get
bridge
Tua
quarterback.
right on a 1 year contract. Like, you can go pay for a veteran quarterback that can give you 1 year of somewhat competent quarterback play and not lose draft picks. None of these teams are in a place to lose draft picks because they're all rebuilding, and the Vikings are like $50 million in dead cap, trying to trade players away and cut them and restructure guys to get under the cap again. Like, there's a real chance there's not a single suitor out there for Mac Jones this offseason. And the only way I can see San Francisco getting a trade done, if they drastically lower the asking price from a first, a second, and more to like a third round draft pick, which is really where it should be. There's no reason to ask for a first or two. No one's giving you that. You got to start there. I get that. But like, a third round draft pick feels like really good compensation for a guy you don't want playing for you at all next year.
Yeah,
it sounds like Tyler Shug.
Yeah, I thought Miami, like, they're like you said, they're trying to trade away. They're trying to clear cap. They're restarting this thing. And my brother, that's funny. He was like, I'm actually excited for the first time in a long time because they reset. They got a new, they got a new GM. They got a new coach. They're both from the same place. And he always knew that what they were, they start slow every year. They're undisciplined. The players are, the coach is aloof. It was just a weird situation in Miami. I don't know. They are getting rid of Tua. There's no way he comes back there, Sterling.
You'd think not. Like, the Dolphins are better off riding with Quinn Ewers and re-signing Zach Wilson. Like, to be honest with you, or going and go bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, go bring in, Geno Smith for a year and just say, Jeff Hafley, your defensive mind, we want to save your picks so you can restore your defense to what it hopefully can be. And we'll figure out quarterback in the next 2 seasons. Like, that's what their motto should be. Not, let's trade a second round draft pick for Mac Jones and hope it works out. No.
Yeah, it would be a waste of an asset.
Exactly.
Let's get into the free agency frenzy. A lot of names being thrown around. Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby. Max would have to be a trade, of course. Jonathan Grenard. It looks like he would have to be a trade too, right?
Yes, with the Vikings.
Yes.
That is a guy that Sterling started talking about or tweeting about or whatever. And I looked into him, and he's actually a pretty legit player. He's had some injuries here and there, but like, talk about a low key, like under the radar, like actually really good, solid pass rusher. He's got 38 career sacks. He has 2 12+ sack seasons, or at least, well, they were both, one, I think it was 12 and a half, and I think the other one was 12. So
yeah, 2 12 sack seasons.
And like, he's what is the word I'm looking for? He's reasonably young. He's not an old player.
Yeah.
I was of the mindset, and I said this with Mike. I've said it multiple times with Mike, and I've said it with you and Dre. It's quantity over quality in free agency. You're not going to get. You're just signing one player and thinking he's the guy that's going to push you over the top is ridiculous. When I said this to Mike, and it sucks because it very much could be a reality. The team I see making a move for, say, like a Max Crosby would be the Rams.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, realistically, if we're being realistic here, they're trying to maximize the last remaining years of Matt Stafford's career. They have a pretty good young core. They just traded for a corner, right, from Kansas City. I could totally see them doing something to bring Max Crosby to LA. The Niners are not in the same place right now. They're in a different. Listen, I know Sterling, you like to say that the Niners still have a Super Bowl window. I think like their previous window shut with that core of players. I think their window is still reasonably open if they start to kind of rebuild this thing and start to add more pieces back to it. Because they got the quarterback. They still have Fred. They still have Nick.
Yeah.
They have a couple pieces here. They have a couple pieces there, but they need some serious retooling.
Yep.
I
agree.
Crosby to them would be
They have to
ridiculous.
draft blue chip players.
Right. That's Mike's thing. You got to start adding more blue chips back to this team. But like the Max Crosby thing just doesn't make sense. But I'd love to hear from you, Sterling.
Yeah, the Crosby one doesn't make sense to me. Niners want to save their draft picks. They want to make the right moves and everything. That's why I think they're in the business of wanting, or at least interested in trading away Mac Jones to get more assets. The more you can get inside that top 100, the better position you're going to be in the draft to get younger players, have more shots at positions, fix your offensive line, fix your defensive line, whether it's a cornerback or a safety. You can get more talent in the room and at least have an opportunity to say, okay, we got 6 guys we like. If 3 of those guys work out, we're in a good spot. If 4 of those guys work out, we're in a good spot. But I think San Francisco this offseason can play in the B tier of free agency, can play in the B tier of the trade market, whereas last year was like you're playing in the C and D tier of free agency.
D.
They have some money to spend.
F.
And I do think that, going back to Grenard, I think he'd be the perfect edge to opposite Nick Bosa. About $38 million for the next 2 years, so 19 per season when it comes to cap. You can obviously change that, lower it, extend it, give him more guaranteed money, rework things to lower his cap hit. But you then have to probably trade Bryce Huff, which I wouldn't mind doing if you can get Grenard in the building. And maybe Mac Jones is a part of that deal. I don't know, but that is a deal. If I'm the Niners, I know Seattle wants to make that trade. And if you think, I think they believe they are in contention with Seattle, not too far away from them, the Niners have never had a really good number 2 edge rusher. They tried. Dee Ford lasted for 3/4 of a season. It was never the same. Grenard's relatively young, relatively cheap. And if the asking price for Grenard is a second and some, and San Francisco believes that Mac Jones is worth a second and some, I would say trade Mac Jones and let's say a conditional 4th round pick next year for Grenard. Like that to me makes sense. A cost-controlled edge rusher is more attainable, or at least more valuable, than a backup quarterback to me. Like you're getting a 3-down player, the best edge rusher you've had opposite Bosa ever, if you get Grenard. So,
and you could turn him into something too. Like if he pops off with the 49ers, essentially they could use him and get a trade for him if they don't want to pay him and they want to bring, have somebody younger take over for that. Sure. One of the other guys that everybody was talking, Mike, what's your thinking on Grenard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with sending a 2nd round pick because they're gonna use it on a bust anyway. So send it for a proven asset, someone who can contribute immediately, who's not going to be a reach in the draft or some random name that we don't know, and let him play next to Bosa and let this D-line eat for once, because you can't have a season like you did last season where you have all D-level defensive linemen trying to go get the quarterback. They have to bolster this some way, somehow, and I don't want to see them bargain bin hunt again, to try to fill that opposite side of Nick Bosa. And it's just like, dude, just suck it up, go find someone who's legit and pay them and be done with it, because they keep trying to cut corners and it hasn't worked out since.
What about a guy like John Franklin Myers that a lot of people keep attaching to the 49ers, a pass rushing interior guy?
He wouldn't need a draft pick, would he? That wouldn't need draft compensation? Or?
Free agent.
Okay. Yeah.
If the Niners were to go free agent, here's the thing with the Barrows freaking thing that just put me in a bad mood last week. Like that, we don't know their game, man. We don't know what the Niners game in free agency is. Like, that's why I keep telling everybody, you're putting all this stuff out there. Dude, I saw at least 5 reports yesterday of players that are going to be free agents, and everyone says reports are the Niners are highly interested. Reports the Niners are highly interested. I mean, it's like, guys, they're highly interested in everybody. And also, those players' agents use the 49ers as a bartering chip, okay? The Niners' name somehow gets teams excited and they're like, oh, the Niners are going after him. Then we gotta, it happens every year. Mike, we talked about this on Wednesday.
Yeah. Is there a single free agent that's not tied to the 49ers or even someone who's on the trade bait? Like everyone is tied to the 49ers somehow. And that's what happens to the fan base is they gaslight us and they get us all hyped up because we keep hearing these names and we're like, oh yeah, they fielded multiple calls and they're very interested and they're one of the teams left in the race. And it's like, dude, they were never in the race. They were just trying to drive up the price to other teams or whatever. And the fan base gets all excited, and then we end up with Farrell. So yeah.
Right. And John will try to sell you on Clelin Ferrell too. Don't even think he won't. Sterling, what do you make of that? That teams use the Niners as kind of like a bartering chip.
I think every team gets used that way, right? Like you can go back. We mentioned Trent Williams earlier in the show and his contract stuff. He was using the Chiefs as bait for San Francisco back in 2021 when he wanted to get paid for the first time, and he almost left, mind you, for Kansas City, but he knew that he had some leverage over San Francisco. He was the guy they wanted, and he used KC in the middle of the night to get San Francisco to pay him more money. And it paid off for San Francisco, and it worked out for KC a little bit more, albeit not in Trent's case. But still, I think the reason why San Francisco's name is tossed out there is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys are talked about every single day on ESPN for the entire football season. They're a big name in a big market that everybody knows. They're good. They're in contention, and they have some money to spend. I think San Francisco is more talked about on Twitter than on ESPN because people know Niners gets clicks. There's a reason why there's 700 content creators in the space because it's a big fan base that is international in Mexico, in Australia, in Europe, everywhere. And it's literally love the 49ers.
You're not over characterizing that. There literally is 700. What it is.
and so when you do that, it gets 700 people in the international market talking of Niners. Yeah, that makes sense. The reason why the Rams are always out there. It's the reason why KC, the Dallas Cowboys, are always talked about. I think a lot of the things that are coming out right now aren't true because you got to think. You mentioned Matt Barrows, and I love Matt. Matt is a great reporter, and he actually knows what he's doing. And he said that the Niners will not be playing too much in free agency. Then a week and a half later, he's saying they're going to monitor Trey Hendrickson's market. They like John Franklin Myers. They're going to be in on him. Okay, well, what does that even right? So what does that mean? I think San Francisco told us what they were going to do. John Lynch openly said we are going to be targeted in free agency. They're not going to go out there and buy 10 free agents. They're going to go out there and buy 2 or 3 guys they really like. And if they got to pay up for one, maybe I would pay up for John Franklin Myers. He is he is one of 3 defensive tackles the last 2 seasons to have 8 sacks and 39 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. He's from the inside. He's in the grouping of proven talent among Leonard Williams. I'm not saying he is that player or has that ceiling, but when it comes to production, he's been there the last 2 seasons. He was with Raheem Morris in Los Angeles early in his career. He was with Saleh when he was with the Jets. There's so many ties to him in San Francisco where you may have to outbid somebody else and pay up for him, but my God, I'd rather you go sign this guy than draft a defensive tackle around 1 or 2. Really what San Francisco should do is sign John Franklin Myers to whatever he wants. He's only 29 years old. And then go draft the defensive tackle in round 4 or 5. You're trying to find starting caliber talent to pair with Bosa and Collins and Michael.
Yeah, and you already have 2 defensive tackles that you drafted last year.
Yeah.
Now
exactly.
you added 2 more guys to that. Now those guys that you drafted last year can kind of fall in the depth chart where they actually belong. Instead of being maybe playing out of position, maybe they're overexposed, maybe they're not good enough to play in that position. To me, if the Niners make 3 targeted free agent moves, I'd be happy. If they go
Sure.
out there and
Yeah.
they get a defensive tackle, a receiver, and an edge in free agency, I'd be very happy. Like there's names out there that a lot of people are. Everybody's connected. I just saw there. I don't know if they took it back, but they said Rashawn Gary from the Packers just got released.
I guess he got hacked, yet somehow had a graphic ready to go saying he was going to be gone. So I don't know what any of that
Huh.
means.
I think
But
somebody.
he's
I
kinda
think
like
somebody.
But I
middle.
also
He's
wouldn't
not
sign
that
him
good
because he
either.
had knee injuries and knee surgery and hasn't really recovered since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's right up the 49ers alley, right, Mike?
Yeah, of course. And then put him
What?
next to a substation. That's
Because then they could have the excuse if he gets hurt next year. Well, he was already injured coming in. It wasn't anything to do with our trainers.
Like, I think I would rather them pay for John Franklin Myers, go sign a veteran left guard,
Okay.
and then go pay for a free agent or wide receiver. Go
Yeah.
get whether it's Romeo Dobbs or Jalen Naylor, or go get 2 receivers for all I care. Go get Dobbs and Naylor. I don't know. Like, there's a way
Not
they could
Dobbs.
work this. It doesn't kill their cap,
Yeah.
and it
Dobbs
makes
has
them
got
an
concussion
incrementally
problems, though.
better team. Yeah, but he played 16 games last year. It's like they may be behind him. I don't know. That worries me too. You're right, Aaron. But the Niners can, if they make 4 free agent signings and maybe some lower level guys behind the scenes, like that are Clea Davis or Kevin Givens type players to improve the depth. Like there's a way San Francisco walks out and it doesn't pay a ton, but really looks good when the offseason's all over and we're all sitting back like, wow, the depth chart actually looks pretty deep for the first time in a couple of years.
Now, who in the wide receiver market, who would you guys want? See, for me, I know Dobbs keeps getting brought up with the Niners. I am not a fan of Dobbs. I think with us getting rid of Juwan Jennings, who is a dog, who is a fighter, who is a antagonizer in our division, we have top DBs, right? We got Seattle, all their DBs are all dogs. The Rams got McDuffie, and Arizona has Will Johnson. You can't bring a guy who's scared to get hit with a football, and it just the visualization of him wearing the Guardian helmet as a wide receiver, take all the medical stuff out of it. It doesn't look good. We need dogs. We need someone who's gonna fight these DBs, who's gonna go toe to toe with them. And to me, it just comes off as soft, and I don't like it. And you can't give up a dog and go get Dobbs. You know what I mean? In Juwan Jennings.
I think with the Niners too is like they don't draft wide receivers well, and when they do draft them, they don't play them. So what's the purpose?
Exactly. You have to get them in free agency.
Get them in free agency. You have to pay a little money. Of course, Alec Pierce is the one that everybody's talking about. There's no way in hell the 49ers are going to sign him.
No.
If you sign him, he's your only free agent signing. Like that's it. And
100%.
the books are closed. Goodbye.
I heard Patriots are going to throw him the bag. We'll see.
We will see. Debo is dog shit. No, he's just old. He's old and old and old. And he was
better than Pearsall last year.
Yeah. I could be better than Pearsall last year. And I'm fat, 46 and unhealthy. So before we get into some of the coaching hires as we round the show out, we got about 12 minutes to go. I saw something before I'd started the show. And it was Larry Krueger. I love Larry. But he had like one of his, he has this thing where he kind of crashes out on specific things like draft speed. This one was get rid of everybody. Fred, Nick, everyone. Trent, reboot it from scratch, get a bunch of draft picks, start over. I know neither of you agree with that, but like, any take on that kind of mindset of like, yeah, we're just going to reboot the whole thing. See you in 5 years.
Well, it's one of those things that if you're going to do it, like you kind of have to do it all at once. And I don't know, last year I kind of felt like it was like a half-ass rebuild. And this year, is it going to be another half-ass rebuild? But you can't get rid of everybody, especially Fred Warner. Like that's blasphemous talk right there. He's your culture setter. He's your captain of the defense. He's your heart and soul of the team pretty much, right? Like when anything you think about 49ers, you think Fred Warner. That's the first person who comes to my mind. Kittle, I mean, it's crazy for him to say you would want to keep Kittle and get rid of Warner. I love George Kittle to death. He's one of my favorite players, but If there's one person that you're gonna say blow it all up and get rid of everybody, Kittle has to be in that conversation, right? He's coming off a major injury, he's aging.
McCaffrey too.
But like
He's close.
It's tough because you know what you have to do if you blow the whole team up, right? You have to go through the dark times again. And yeah, but there's just certain players that I'm not cutting. Like that's crazy. And you still have to keep those players around to build your culture of your reboot. So
that's funny.
Yeah, if the Niners were gonna rip the Band-Aid off, it would have been last year before they paid Kittle and Warner and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
If they were in the business of tearing things down, it would have been last offseason when they traded away Debo and they I don't know. Look, love Larry, good guy, coworker of mine. That is the most asinine take I've heard.
It's so bad.
Like, so you want to tear down, and I get it. They're hurt. They were injured. They're always injured, right? We all are on the same page of like, gotta fix something. But you want to tear down a 12-win team that, if healthy, which is a big ask, and I hate having to put that caveat on almost every other year for this team, that if they had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Micah Williams and George Kittle, that you don't think they would have been better. Like, you also can't even get takers for injured players. Like, yeah, a team would pay for Fred Warner, but not as much as they would have before last year. They'd pay for George Kittle, not as much as they would before last year. Same thing goes for Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa has torn his ACL 3 times.
Yeah.
Who's trading for him? Like,
Nobody.
Your best bet is sitting back and hoping.
And
that
it's
he's
good for them
healthy
because then they
and
don't have to
pops
overpay
off.
for him.
Right. So, look. I know what Larry's doing and he's saying, because Larry is in the get as many draft picks as you possibly can and, plug in 21 brand new 22-year-olds into the roster, and if 6 of them work, well, then you have your core again. And that's just unrealistic. You're not trading back 6 times in the NFL draft and saying, well, we didn't make a pick till round 2, but we have 19 third rounders and look at us. You're not trading away your entire star caliber players and saying, wow, we got 10, 6th-round draft picks and 10 third-round draft picks. No one's doing that unless you are admitting you're going to fire Kyle, you're going to fire John, you're going to trade Brock, and you're admitting mistakes. None of these players are mistakes, and they're all good when healthy. Yeah, there's concerns. There always is concerns. But you are not going to win. And I can guarantee you, if Niner fans aren't angry now, conceding will piss them off even more. Yeah. Oh, you were a 12-win team last year and you're trading everybody away? Really? Really? What are you doing? For a bunch of third-round draft picks? Really?
Yeah.
It'll make it worse.
And there's no guarantee based on their track record that those picks would even hit anyways. So why would you do that?
You can't do that with this team. You can't just trade proven assets for draft picks because they can't draft. They're inept at drafting. It's one of the craziest things ever. I don't know.
He gets like 9,000 million views on his YouTube channel. He's a freaking big time guy. So he can get away with takes like that.
and look, like, it's all love and all respect. It's just like, we all have bad takes. I've had bad takes. We all have bad takes. This is a bad take.
I never had bad takes. No, I'm just kidding.
I know it's coming from the place of they're getting older. You need to get younger and quicker and stronger and faster. Look what Seattle did. Look what the Rams are doing. Like, I get it in the context of like, you need to like really recalibrate how you do things. I totally get it. But sometimes there is the paralysis by overanalysis. And this is what it is. Like, take a step back. Look at how much money they can spend. Look at the draft picks. They won 12 games last year. Brock Purdy has ascended to a new tier of quarterback play. If you get guys back, like, Seattle's not going to be as good as they were last year. They're going to lose Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, post-ACL injury. What's he going to do? They're going to lose a ton of free agents. And if they can draft well, we'll see what happens. But the odds are it's very hard to compete and repeat in the NFL. What if Matthew Stafford gets hurt? Bang, you're in second place. Wow. What if Sam Darnold isn't good next year with Kubiak not in the building? Like, a lot can be said, and I think it's like, let's take a step back and breathe. San Francisco has 2 picks inside the top 50, I believe, or 1 at 27 and 1. around 54. They got a couple of third-round draft picks, and they have free agency. Like, they're not too far away. Just take a step back, breathe, and not trade away your all-pros and future Hall of Famers for nothing.
Yeah, especially your all-pro who played every single game last year with a broken foot and still made it through. But yeah, I mean, or the year before, sorry. But no, I mean, their whole thing of trying to follow the Rams, rebuilding process, it looked good on paper, but the thing is they're just not hitting in the draft. I'm just very hopeful that they can actually hit this year. They need blue chip. They have to get a blue chip
Mike
player.
wants to be positive, guys. He wants to be positive. So do I. You guys wanted me to agree that the Niners were a playoff team last year and they could go and do something in the playoffs. And I refused it. And then when I finally bought into it and I accepted it, they went and they got their ass whooped in Seattle. And I was like, see, that's what I was trying to avoid. Real quick. Pinheiro, Morstead, Niners are looking to retain them. We know that. Burford out. Barch is probably staying. That little bit of news. One thing I will say is the Niners of the 80s kept about 3 or 4 core guys. Eric Wright, Ronnie Lott, and Joe Montana were 3 of them. They stayed there through the whole 4 Super Bowl run. You can't get rid of everybody and be able and keep competing. You got to keep some core guys. All right, real quick, coaching talk. We've had some guys hired on the staff. I'm not going to talk about Cameron Clemens or Angel Matute. Wanted to talk about the Eberflus hire real quick. I know Mike didn't like it, and then we'll get out of here. Thoughts on the Sterling? Thoughts on the Eberflus hire for the 49ers in their coaching staff?
Yeah, some people aren't made to be head coaches. Some people aren't made to be defensive coordinators. Some people are made to be assistants. And I think there is, despite recent struggles, Eberflus has had a pretty good track record of developing linebackers. That started in Indianapolis. It started to happen with Chicago. But I think more importantly, as a DC, as a head coach, despite the record being bad, his teams have actually been some of the best against the run. Indianapolis, I think every single year, but one of the 4 years he was there, they were a top 10 run defense in football. Goes to Chicago, gets a head coaching job. They were 31st. It was terrible the first year. The next year, they were second. Like, he does show that, okay, with the right personnel, he can improve things. I don't know what the heck happened in Dallas last year. Personnel-wise, they weren't great. It was Parsons was gone. Then Clark was in there. They had no edge rushers. Then Quinn Williams got there. And it was just like, I don't know what's happening. But, nobody liked Gus Bradley when they hired him. And he was a great red zone defensive coach. So you give them an opportunity. What I don't want, and this is the Niners have hired 2 people that scare me if they are the kind of waiting in the wings type of coaches. If Eberflus is your eventual Raheem Morris replacement, I don't like that. If Kwesi is your eventual John Lynch replacement, I don't like that. That scares me. So we'll see how things go. But as assistants, as executives in the front office, 2 small hires that can help you a lot. Like, why not have an extra defensive coordinator in the room that was an ex-head coach? Even if he failed, he's still done it. He's seen it all. He runs cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. He's a very more expansive-minded defensive coach than Gus Bradley was. So he'll bring something new to the table. And I think if he's not leading the charge, there's really no harm in it whatsoever.
Mike?
Yeah, to me, it's what have you done for me lately? And like you said,
Sure.
he was a failed head coach, failed defensive coordinator. Dallas, even with a very, very high-powered offense, which you would think would put the defense in a very good position to win, they had one of their worst seasons historically.
Yeah.
And they weren't even as injured as the Niners defense. So I don't know what the excuse was there. But, they were like last in points per game. They were 30th in total yards per game. They were like bottom 5 in takeaways and sacks and all that stuff. And even though they did make the trade for Quinn Williams, it was just a disaster. It was a shit show. They were 20th in run defense, which you would think Dallas putting up 40 points a game, teams would get away from the run, and they're still 20th in run defense. So to me, I'm just like, what? Why has this guy failed so many times? And why does he keep getting jobs? But as a friend, I have a friend who was, with Dallas as a Dallas fan, and he just told me it was more than just scheme stuff of him, playing very soft. It was, players didn't really buy into him. They didn't really like him. I kind of heard the same thing was coming out of Chicago when he was there. So I don't know. Like you said, maybe he's a better assistant than a coordinator or even a head coach. So as you said, as long as he's not the one waiting in the wings when Raheem leaves, then I guess just file some paperwork and do your film cut-ups and send them to Raheem and stay out of the way.
Guys, it's been a great hour talking Niners with you. I know Sterling's got to run. Mike, as usual, as always, I love talking football with you. We have a show. We're like transitioning. We have a new overlay background. Mike's got a new caricature. Everything's trending upwards. I'm actually excited with this offseason. But everybody in the chat, even the guy that I had to block, thanks for coming through. Appreciate it. Love talking Niners with you. Mike, I will see you soon. Sterling, probably going to see you next week because we'll be talking free agency. Till next time, everyone, stay safe and healthy. Go Niners.